everybody. Welcome to Meddkit's Provider Spotlight, where every week we are meeting the most amazing private practices from all over the United States. Every week we have someone brand new, a new specialty, and the most important thing is that we have a brand new perspective. We've been doing this for 5 years now. I can't believe that. And every week, some questions, are different, but there's some that are just showstoppers that everyone answers so differently. And so that's why it's so important to get good information out there and interview these amazing people. And speaking of amazing people, we have a really special guest for you today. I really want to introduce you to Avani Shah, owner and CEO of Therapy Smarts in North Carolina. Welcome, Avani. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am equally excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I am very excited to dive in. So I would love to kind of start out, with your story. I think it's always amazing to hear a business owner talk about, how they got here. It's always this like mystical thing in the background. You've done so much work, you develop a great team. So what inspired you?
Okay, so I have to say that entrepreneurship runs in my family. My father and grandfather were both entrepreneurs, and those seeds were planted early on in my life. Growing up, I always loved working with children, and I knew I wanted to be in the medical field. I earned my bachelor's in speech language pathology in India and then moved to US and completed my master's. After graduation, I worked for almost a decade in private practice sector where I learned a lot.
Mhm.
And I felt called to make a greater impact. And that's what inspired me to launch Therapy Smart. When I started Therapy Smart, the goal was to have it as a multidisciplinary clinic,
Mhm.
a place where therapists can build and collaborate in a child-centered environment and
Yeah.
where they work as a team to help each child thrive.
That is amazing. It's so nice to have people in your family, the people that are closest to you, to be such great mentors and someone to look up to and aspire you to do what you're doing today. And, congrats to you. I know you just opened up a new location, and I'm sure that was very exciting for you guys last week.
Yes, thank you. We definitely had a good turnout of people. We are very thankful for the families that trust the care of their children with us, and all the referral coordinators that send patients to us so that we can continue to help.
That is amazing. So I would love to learn a little bit more about the practice itself. So you all do so much, and all different ways, within your practice and helping children and families. So if you could tell us a little bit about maybe some common areas that you help, people with what they're struggling with, and maybe some not common things or things that maybe people wouldn't think that you do but you do them.
Sure. So let me tell you a little bit about our practice. We're a multidisciplinary clinic. We offer speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, mental health services, ABA, and psychology evaluations. We
Mhm.
mainly specialize with pediatrics. Our mental health counselor does work with families as well as adults.
That's amazing. You guys do a lot.
We are thankful to have an amazing team and be able to. Our goal was an holistic approach for every family, every child, and we're excited to be able to offer that.
It's kind of interesting, all the different things that you do. I'm sure, it's nice to kind of go to a one-stop shop. You have a whole team dedicated to your child's care, whether they need help with, speech, OT, but then might need some evaluations, and they don't have to go outside to get recommendations for that. You handle that all within house. So I would love to know, aside from doing so many different things, what else makes your approach so different?
Sure. So again, uh, it's the approach that we have. Before we started ABA or mental health, the struggle that we saw in parents, we serve a lot of children on the autism spectrum, diagnosed with autism. And one major struggle that I often saw parents have is choosing between the services, the essential services. So if the child went to ABA services, that was full day, they had to choose if they wanted to pull the child out early and bring them to speech and OT services, or they had to choose between speech and OT services and decide not to get ABA services. So another struggle that I often saw from parents is the lack of communication or collaboration between the providers. Like we'll often get emails from parents, "Hey, can you please get in on a meeting with the OT?" And it was always hard to match those calendars and meet with them.
Yep.
So one thing that we do different is we provide all those services. And this is again, our AB is brand new. We've only done AB in mental health now for a year and a half. And this is with requests from the parents that we started our ABA. The trust that they put in our team, they wanted us to bring ABA to the clinic. And we heard the parents and we decided that we're going to bring them. We're going to bring the services to the clinic. And so what makes our approach different? As I said, our goal was holistic, where therapists are working together towards one goal for the child, where they're learning from each other and they're helping carry over the goals in each other's sessions to
Mhm.
acquire better results.
That's so awesome. I love that you're so community oriented. Time and time again, throughout just hearing you talk, you're like, we listen to what our parents need and what they want and see if we can bring it to them. And you did. And I think that's not an easy feat. Why you have so many other clinicians and, other specialists coming in and, that are on your team to open a whole other sector of what you do is so much more than meets the eye you know, on the back end. So I think that's fantastic that you were able to meet the needs of your community and help out families. So I commend you. That is fantastic. Um, Something that I would really like to dive into, and this is kind of what I was talking about in the beginning, where I love this question. I love how people answer it because you know healthcare is a little confusing, right? And there's so many things with Googling or ChatGPT now and WebMD. There's all these resources online, which in essence is nice to have when it's used correctly. There is good information out there, but not everything you that
True.
is online is what you should believe because some of it is categorically false. So, how do you go about debunking some misconceptions about what people think about what you do within the practice? Or maybe someone read something online, whether it has to do with autism or ADHD or mental health or because there's so much of what you do, I'm sure you get tons of questions all the time, or you've heard other parents that said, "Oh, I went to see this person and that was not great." What are some misconceptions for you, and what would you like to debunk today?
Sure. I mean, so there are a lot of misconceptions that we hear from parents. One of them can be, especially when they're beginning therapy new, they don't know what to expect out of therapy, right? So when parents begin therapy, they often see therapy sessions that you're playing with your child, playing with my child, and I can do that at home too. And we have to sit parents down and explain to them that children learn best when they're having fun. In our clinic, children look forward to coming to sessions and cry when they have to leave. And every single thing that we do in the session has a purpose behind it. So I would highly recommend parents to like find a seasoned therapist that will explain to them the why behind what they're doing and show you how to carry it over at home, right? For example, a simple thing like swing. Uh, we have sensory gyms in our clinic, and in the gym, you can see a swing, a slide, and to any parent, it would be like, oh, it's a playground equipment. However, it's there with a purpose. For some children, swinging, the back and forth movement helps them calm down. In our language, we say regulate. And when the child is
Mhm.
calmed down or regulated, they focus better and they are able to learn, even if it's just for like that 15-20 minutes. We get the best out of them and they can learn, and then we help them carry it over at home, right? So it's very important to find providers that explain the why behind everything that they are doing, and also like believing in your therapist. And it's not a miracle that's going to change overnight, right? It's the small steps. You cannot we often hear parents say, "Oh, my child is still not talking." As a speech therapist, like our goal is not just talking, our goal is communication.
Mhm.
Whether the child is communicating via gestures, whether the child is communicating by pointing, whether the child is communicating using AAC device, the goal is communication. And so, you know, seeing the small steps from like the child being in their own world to really showing interest in communicating with you, right? So all those
Yeah.
small steps are important. Those milestones are important to get to the big milestones. So, mm, you know, s- seeing those little milestones that your child makes and not just looking for that end goal is so important to keep the progress going.
Well, what's interesting, the way I see it is that this is truly a family affair, and it's great that you're not only helping the child, but you're helping the child progress even more when the parents can understand what and why they're doing it and how to do it at home so that you can continue their child's progress.
Mhm.
Because you know what it's like sometimes, you come in and you're like, how did you unlearn this so quickly? And it's because it's probably not happening at home. So I love that you're including the family and, you know, these learning points and, letting them do it at home and letting their child thrive at home. So I love that you've really included the whole family as a community and what you're doing for just their child. I'm sure that is very helpful.
It definitely is. Again, it varies from parent to parent. Some
Yeah.
parents love participating in the session. Some parents, it is their, I mean, it is, all of us are busy. It is, as a parent, it's a lot of responsibility. You're working. And so when the child is in therapy, that is also a time where you can take a break. So we have both sets of parents that are excited to be part of the session. Some want to get that break and
Yep.
be by themselves. So
Definitely. It's also really good to talk about that too, because oftentimes parents are running from one thing to the next and
Mhm.
they too need a breather, and let's
Exactly.
celebrate that as well, you know?
I definitely agree. I mean, as a parent, we have so much on our plate, and it is important and if we can do that, if we can help you get that break, right? Like even if it's a 30-minute session where you're ready to receive your child, you are in a better mood to receive your child and work with your child when you go home, that is equally important.
That is so great to mention. I think, that is not talked about enough. Parents need that too. And it's so amazing that your community of therapists, clinicians can give parents that. So not only great relief for a child that might be struggling, but also great relief for a parent as well. So I think you guys are doing amazing. I mean, this has been so fantastic. And you've given such good tips and advice and sharing your story throughout. I'd love to kind of round out this interview with an interesting and special question. I'm sure that you might commonly give people or families or children some homework, maybe some things to work on, but would love to know from your perspective if there's anyone maybe considering services that are like yours or coming out to see you or speaking to your clinicians. about getting started, what might you say or what advice might you give to parents that are kind of in the throes of all that, not sure where to go. But then also on the flip side, it's kind of a two-sided question because so many private practices and business owners are also watching. Would love to hear what's really important to you in your business and what you have done to succeed, to thrive. Maybe it's something small that you do every day for yourself, for your staff that permeates throughout, the office. So would love to hear all your pro tips.
Okay, so pro tip for parents, I would say early intervention. If you feel that your child is not performing as well as the kids of his or her age, I highly recommend getting the help sooner. Get an evaluation so that you know whether your child is performing where he or she should be, or he can use the help. The sooner you get the help, the better it would be to close that gap. When I say close that gap is the child might be 2 years old, but their language age might be 18 months. So now there's
Okay.
just a gap of 6 months between where they should be compared to their peers versus where they are. And it's easy, the sooner you get the help, the easier it is to close that gap. The longer you wait, maybe because you feel that he's going to grow out of it. You've heard parents say that my child didn't talk till 3 o'clock, till 3 years of age, and you wait. The larger the gap becomes, and the harder it is to close. So, my first and foremost tip is that early intervention. Get the help that your child needs and help them thrive.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's really important to mention about, especially what you're saying, closing the gap. It's not trying to be alarmist, but at the same time, if you see, your child best, and if you see something that's going on, see something, say something, and maybe just go and get things checked out. And if maybe they aren't lining up where things maybe normally are you can address it then rather than waiting till maybe they do grow out of it, but or also maybe sometimes it nothing happens and the gap gets bigger. And I like how you explain it like it's a gap. It's not like worse, but there's just a gap and we're just gonna help fill that. I love
Mhm.
that. Really important to use the right language.
Thank you. Thank you. As far as the tips for the providers
Yeah.
that are starting their business, are you looking for tips for providers that are like fresh in the business, or I'm not sure. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say anyone that is in private practice, whether they are new or seasoned, I think everyone can learn something at any stage of their career, right? There's never a limit to growth. And so I'd love to hear from you. What are some pro tips that you have used along the way that has been really helpful to your office, to your career, whether it's a piece of technology or whether it's something that you do for the staff, or something, that maybe it's been a mentor, that's been a great mentor for you over the years. So what are maybe some of the pro tips based on that? And no matter where people are in their career, because I do want everyone to learn.
Agree. Agree. Okay, so first and foremost, like I am a core believer that when you start a business, don't do it with the thought of just making money. Do it with the thought of the intention behind it, like making a difference, right? We are in the business of helping children, and if that is your core value, the reason behind your why, then everything's going to fall in place. And for somebody that is starting new, taking that leap of faith and trusting the unknown, like it is important to remember to getting started is far more important than waiting for that perfect plan. Like fear is real. We get into the cycle of what if my plan does not work? And the biggest risk is not taking that risk. So I do urge like all the therapists that are thinking to start their own business to take that risk, because there's never going to be a perfect time. And for people that have already started their business, it's very important to stay close to the core issues. Like founders must focus on the critical needs and the problems of their customers. Building a service or a product that your customers don't need is not going to be helpful. So it's important to hear your customers' pain points and mm, see how you can help them, right? Another important thing, and this is something that I'm working on myself too, is doing things, out of your comfort zone. I call it the growth zone. So every day you will be thrown into situations where you have never done that. And you have two ways to it. Either you do it or you say, no, 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 I'm not ready for it, including doing this interview with you, right? Like, I may be anxious about it, but it is just getting out of that comfort zone and getting into my growth zone so that I can learn and improve, right? Is an important thing. I do have to say that in the last 1.5 year, we've grown tremendously. And this is all because I learned how to get help. Like I had a vision, I had a goal, but I didn't know how to get there. So it's very important to also invest in yourself as a CEO, as a founder, just like how you're always working to invest in your team members, like getting them the CEUs, getting them ability to opportunities to learn. It's very important that you learn how to run the business or how to do certain things and reach out to people that are ahead of you on a similar path and reach out to them to be your mentors. Invest in technology, invest in programs that can teach you and that will help you grow.
That is amazing. I mean, I just want to I want to clap for you because that I think that is so powerful for other founders and business owners to hear. And, it's not easy starting a practice, but there is so much reward that comes with it. And you're treating people and seeing people the way that you want to see them and the way that you know you can help. And I think, and you're in control of that. And everything that you said and in terms of what you're doing for your staff and how you're also giving them opportunities and helping them grow within their career. That's such a beautiful thing to have. They can have a mentor like you, that's willing to give them that shot, for them to grow into, themselves and learn more and be better for it. And so I commend you for everything that you're doing, with your practice at Therapy Smarts. And today was such a wonderful time getting to know you and more about what you're doing in your practice. So congratulations. Um, Very fantastic. How I would love to leave off, for the folks that are listening, I would love if you could share with us how people can touch base with your practice if they have questions or would like to connect or see a great mentor in you. But would love if you could share that information with us today.
Sure. We are on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. On LinkedIn, you can look for me, Avani Shah, or you can look for us as a team, Therapy Smarts. Our website is therapysmarts.net. We would love for you guys to follow us, like us, so that we can continue to share all the exciting things that are happening in the clinic and in the community. And we would love to stay in touch.
Great. Thank you so much, Avni. You are amazing. Congratulations on such an amazing business, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you.